Hey friends, welcome back. I'm Coach Christine and you're listening to Extraordinary Strides, where we lace up, lean in, and stride toward extraordinary feats. Today, I'm joined once again by not just my go-to travel expert, but the entire Extraordinary League and Extraordinary Strides podcast travel expert, Ashley from Mystical Dream Travel, as we continue on our World Marathon Majors. Hey, Ashley, how you doing?
I'm great, Christine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. This is really exciting for us to be talking about our next World Marathon Major, the Berlin Marathon. This was my first international trip, so I can't wait to talk a lot about it. Berlin is the place where world records are set, elite runners push their limits, and thousands of everyday runners chase personal best. So Ashley and I are going to cover everything: how to get into the race, what to expect from the course, must-know German words for runners, where to eat pretzels as big as your head, and basically everywhere. And even the massive inline skating marathon held the race the day before the marathon. So whether Berlin is your dream race or your next destination, or you're feeling your running wanderlust, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Okay, my friend, should we start with the history?
Absolutely. You always got to get into the history.
Yeah, I think so too.
Going on. So tell us about it.
So I think that Berlin is considered one of the younger world marathon majors because it was first run in 1974 with just 244 finishers. That's just mind-blowing to me. 234 were men and only 10 women on the field. And of course, fast forward to today, Berlin has become a marathon powerhouse, breaking more world records than any other race. How about you hit me with some of the few fun facts about some of those world records? What do you think?
Absolutely. Berlin has produced 13 world records. That is more than any other marathon. So that just speaks to the course and the runners that are running it, obviously. It is also home to the fastest women's marathon ever run. This was run in 2023 by Tigist Assefa at 2:11:53. That is a very, very fast.
I'm still always amazed. Like, these look like half marathon times.
I know. You always got to think like, wait, what did I just read?
It's just incredible to me.
Absolutely.
So I think the reason why I was excited about it, and I'm curious if you're excited about it, is because the finish line is at the Brandenburg Gate. And that's just a bucket list, totally iconic for many, many runners. Now, I do want to caveat that it's actually not exactly at the gate. You still have to run about a little bit of under a quarter of a mile, but still, it's just so incredible to know that you're finishing through the Brandenburg Gate. And that was once part of the Berlin Wall dividing East and West Germany. So there's a lot of history in this particular race.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely something that kind of piqued my interest. Definitely Berlin was the first world major that I was kind of exposed to when it was being run, seeing it in my feed on Facebook and all the runners coming through that wonderful kind of monument and sparked my interest of, I'm going to go do the World Marathon Majors, because why wouldn't you want to be a part of history and get to see some of these beautiful sights around the world? Now, I know many people think we're crazy because, you know, you can go see the world without running, but it's a nice little added benefit.
Now, I mean, I've heard that you can travel without running. Do you know of people that do that as a travel agent?
I don't know. I mean, I know people do, but I don't know that I know how to. You know? It's always fun adding a little competition in the house to the little vacations.
I agree. So I think, again, like, why I loved it was really immersing myself in all of the history of it, but knowing that there was just so much power. And I think that one thing that Germany does is like they bring their history to everyday life. So I think that's one of the extraordinary things. But when can we expect to head to the Berlin Marathon, Ashley?
Now, like we had mentioned during the Sydney Marathon, it was originally in September and they bumped it up because of this race. The Berlin Marathon is held in mid to late September every year, making it the perfect fall marathon with generally mild temperatures. That said, some years have been a little bit warmer than expected, so checking those forecasts beforehand are always a good idea. Always making sure you're packing for a couple different temperatures, but obviously, I mean, that has to account for some of those world records, right?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the weather was perfect. Of course, I trained in Florida summer, so that could be a little bit of that. But I love that it's not just a one day event. It's truly like a plethora of events that go on that entire weekend. So Berlin hosts an entire marathon festival. They have that huge expo, which of course the majors generally do. They also have a kids marathon, a hand cycle race, a wheelchair race, and of course the biggest surprise for many people is
the Berlin Inline Skating Marathon. Definitely something super, super unique to this world major.
absolutely. This is the world's largest inline skating marathon. It's held the Saturday before the runners hit the streets. The skaters fly with times that are faster than most people can even bike a marathon.
The current men's record is 56 minutes and 49 seconds.
That's How fast is that?
That's people's like 10K times.
That's scary.
Wow. That's
I don't think I would
a Disney 5K.
I wouldn't feel that comfortable going that fast. That's wild to me. Absolutely. I mean, like seriously. But if you didn't, just like the marathon, if maybe that's not your speed, but you still do want to consider inline skating, it's available for registration and generally does not sell out as easily as the marathon distance does. But I also love that this particular race has a kind of like a play off of Tokyo's Friendship Run, where the day before the shakeout run the organized shakeout run, you actually finish it in the Olympic Stadium, which I think is pretty incredible for most of us everyday runners as well. So really, they really come completely out for making this an extraordinary race.
Absolutely. It's always so fun to like see the city and whatnot. Maybe you're not a runner. You know, I know roller derby is big now, so it's perfect to get the family involved maybe, and get a lot more people out on that course and kind of experience that history. So it's definitely a lot of fun. Now, like you had said, obviously you can register prior for that, but the big thing here is how do you get into the Berlin Marathon? So like many of the others, there is a lottery. This is the most common way to get in. You apply typically in October and results come out sometime in December. So you kind of know ahead of time if you have that bid secured. They do also have a good for age program. So if you're a fast runner, Berlin has qualifying times similar to Boston. There is also always my favorite option, the charity entry. So many charities do have bibs in exchange for fundraising. This kind of gives you a nice little meaning for your miles. And then we always have the tour operators for the international travel packages with that guaranteed bib. So you kind of have everything together, which is obviously a great option if you can't do any of the other ones and has your accommodations in there.
And then, of course, we've mentioned it for the World Marathon Majors, but we're going to mention it again. If you register on Abbott's World Marathon Majors because you're pursuing it, they have a new lottery system where you can rack up entries through virtual half marathons, or they even have monthly challenges. And it's just a great way of throwing in your hat into the ring every possible way when these races really mean a lot to you.
I love that they're making these a lot more accessible to get into, because I mean, we all know those coveted lottery bibs go like at the drop of a hat. There's so many people registering. So I love that they're making it so there's many different ways to try to gain that entry.
I think we've kind of touched on it, but truly where there's a will, there's a way when it comes to the World Marathon Majors. I didn't get in through the lottery for Berlin. I got in through a second chance lottery system that was like first come, first serve. I had to wake up at 2:30 in the morning for it. It was really weird, but it was just one of these possible chances, or like London that came calling after I didn't even think that it would ever get into London. So really staying focused, friends, if this is what means a lot to you. There are more opportunities than ever. Yes, I know there's also more people than ever that are going after it, but still more opportunities than ever to make it happen. So what can we expect for Berlin, my friend, when we were out there on the course, I mean, we talked about it. It's the one thing you can expect is speed, right? It's flat, it's fast, it's built for personal records. So big shout out if that's what you're looking for. I am not going to do any of these words justice, so don't come at me, my friends. But it starts at the Strasse des 17, which is near the Brandenburg Gate, and it takes runners on a tour of Berlin's most famous districts, including Charlottenburg, Kreuzberg, Friedrichshain, Alexanderplatz, and before circling back to the Brandenburg Gate finish. And to my German friend, I love you. Please don't hate me. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your names. One thing that I will say, though, for an international World Marathon major experience, this is one of the easiest logistically because it is more of a looped course. So while you're not starting exactly at the same area as the finish, it's close enough and their public transportation is so great. You can easily make this one logistically happen.
Yeah, which makes it awesome for our spectators. So the spectators do have some of the best places on this course. Some of them are being the Brandenburg Gate, the Potsdamer Platz, and the Kreuzberg. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these correct, but Berlin really does have some of the best supported marathons in the world. There are spectators almost everywhere on the course, which makes it really, really fun. Now, it does also help us with the course limits and cutoffs. Berlin does have a 6-hour and 15-minute time limit to it, which means runners must maintain at least a 14-minute, 10-second pace per mile or an 8-minute, 47-second pace per kilometer for our other friends. There are also strict checkpoints along this course. So if you do fall behind, officials may ask you to leave the race. So we want to make sure you are all trained up for those cutoffs so you can get that shining finish line photo and cross that lovely Brandenburg Gate finish.
I think when it comes to Berlin specifically, there's a lot to prepare for. What comes to mind is the time change of all of these. Of course, we've talked about them, but preparing for that as well. But when you finally have acclimated to the time change, what would you say is the first thing that folks should hit up?
Of course, the expo. You gotta go see all the merch and all the shiny new things. Now, as a reminder, there are going to be many different vendors there. We all want to go see our friends and family that we're traveling with or might not be traveling with because we know we make a lot of runner friends along the way. The expo is massive and it's held at the Tempelhof Airport, a decommissioned airport turned into event space. But I mean, how cool is that? How many marathons have an airport?
It is wicked awesome, seriously. I actually think that the expo space at this decommissioned airport was nicer than the airport that I actually flew into. So it is really, really amazing experience. I think what's also cool that we're seeing a lot more with these too is that you can pre-order a lot of the merchandise. You can pre-order your Berlin official gear, making that expo experience a little bit more streamlined. So you're not feeling like you have to get there first thing in the morning and fight people for the size, the finisher shirt. But I do want to talk about race day fueling because Berlin does provide water. They have bananas. They actually have tea. They have hot tea on the course, which was my first experience with that, and Martin gels. So if you aren't a big fan of Martin gels, then you really need to consider taking your own because that's pretty much going to be the only thing you can get on that course.
And as we learned in a previous episode, biggest tip is making sure if you are bringing your own race fuel and not using the course supplied fuel, make sure you have it in non-throwaway layers. So they are always on your person. Try not to lose them out of your pockets so they don't bounce out or anything like that. Make sure you really have them secured.
Literally just had to think of that at the Run Disney event with the cold temperatures because I did. What did I do? I had so many pockets in my throwaway layer. I was like, oh, I can put my fuel here. And then I was like, no, lesson learned. Let's not do that. It's a throwaway layer. So yes, it's evidently have a bit of a hard head in my learning of my lessons. But luckily, I think that the temperature was so perfect at Berlin. I don't think I even needed a throwaway layer. It was just flawless. So Ashley, I've already alluded to this race being a little less hands-on in terms of the concerns you may have about getting around, because the public transportation there is out of this world phenomenal. So my friends, you're going to grab a Berlin welcome card for unlimited rides on the U-Bahn or the S-Bahn buses and trams. And of course, this is one of the beautiful things about some of these races, is that for this specific race day, runners wearing a bib will get free transportation. I also think that they do that because how do you keep track of the amount of people that are actually coming on and off of these races? But definitely just know that it's a very easy, perfect. There's like that language barrier is not going to be an issue whatsoever for getting around Berlin. But as our travel expert, what should I do when I'm going to Berlin? What should I go visit, my friend?
Berlin is home to some of amazing sites, things to do, things to see. Some of them being the Museum Island. It is home to UNESCO World Heritage Site with world-class museums. So always love getting in a little bit of history and seeing some new stuff. There is also the Kadam, which is the top shopping street in Berlin. So who doesn't want to go get some goodies to bring home? And then you always have the beer gardens. I mean, who wouldn't want to do this? Because after 26.2 miles, you have earned it. So you definitely want to go grab your Steen and bring it on home to hang it up sit it on the wall with your medals is kind of that extra little trophy to yourself.
I do love it. And it's so good. Sorry, go ahead. I got so excited. We started talking about German beer.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not go there and get that, you know? And then on the course, don't miss the Checkpoint Charlie or the Berlin Wall Memorial to take in the city's history, or take a trip down to Munich for Oktoberfest, because we're all about a good party, you know?
Yeah. I'm curious. Where do you fall? Do you do Oktoberfest before or after the race? Because I've heard people do both.
Oh, I would totally probably do after.
Me too. Like, I don't want to worry about like my fueling or those last taper runs or anything like that. But I do know lots of folks who've done it, and I mean, they've enjoyed it, and maybe they looked at it as like liquid carb loading. But instead of worrying about liquid carb loading, let's talk about what actual carb loading we can have. What kind of food should we be looking for when we're in Berlin?
This is one of my favorites. It's definitely for the foodies out there. Best known for giant pretzels, because who doesn't love a giant pretzel that's bigger than your head? There's also currywurst, which is a German sausage with curry ketchup. There's the Berliner, which is a jam-filled donut, because, you know, who doesn't need some snacks while they're there? And of course, last but not least, absolutely not, one of our most favorite is the Oktoberfest beer. So making sure you can get those Oktoberfest celebrations in post-race, maybe grab some medal pictures with some of the locations or your beer, because they do still have the celebration happening all over the city, even though the race is in September.
I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait to live vicariously through all of you guys that are going to tackle Berlin, because I do think it's a must-do experience. Of course, I might just be partial, but when you're there, as I've mentioned, friends, 100%, everyone speaks English, and you do not have to worry about learning German. If you would like to, though, and maybe put it into your everyday conversations, there are a few. So again, Barbara, my German friend, I'm sorry, pronunciations, but I'm going to try. So I think one of the things that we should say that we might hear folks cheering us on is Lauf, weiter, which means keep running. It makes sense, right? When you think of like certain brands, Laufen, running, kind of, right? I don't know. Come on, work with me, girl. You might also hear somebody say, Du schaffst das. You got this, which makes me actually kind of think a little bit of Ramstein, who was one of the bands that I listened to all last summer. So maybe you want to throw that into your playlist. And then I think everybody should exclaim with pride and glee a little Ich hab es geschafft. I did it. And I really, really now wish that I had Duolingo to double check these because I don't know what I just said. And I hope I didn't say anything offensive to people.
That's what makes these races so much fun, is diving into a brand new culture, being respectful still to their area, because obviously they know we are not from there. We are not trying to butcher different words, but kind of embracing that culture with open arms as we come into their world. You know, they're accepting us into their marathons to be able to see these historic landmarks. So always want to make sure we say thank you to those volunteers, spectators, and everyone else, race organizers, all on that course.
Yes. And then if nothing else fails, just say Prost when you clink your beer with folks. With that said, friends, this is officially our Berlin episode. It is fast, it was historic, and it's an absolute must run. So if you're planning for Berlin, join the Stride Collective or Women of the World Marathon Majors for training tips and travel insights. And next up, we're heading back to Chicago, the Windy City Marathon. Until then, keep striding toward extraordinary.